Hey, how's it going? Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to show you the trades that I took and was attempting to take on April 5th. I'm going to do a full breakdown of what the chart looked like beforehand with my plan and scenarios, and then I'm also going to show you how I executed on all of the trades. Before we start the video, I'd like to remind you that I am doing a giveaway once I hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm giving away a $10,000 prop account for free. So please remember, like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump into the video. So on the ES, I took a total of 4 trades on Friday, and I took 1 trade on the NQ, which is a lot more than I usually take, but given the amount of volume and movement that we had for this day, there was more opportunities. So let's jump into the ES chart first. So this whole move here was the result of Friday's move. So I'm going to go into replay mode so I can remove some of the candles so we can see what the market looked like before the open happened. So this large move down here was Thursday's news about Israel and Iran and the fear that entered the market. So it's a really large move down, breaking a lot of levels. Now, the main levels I was looking at was this level through here. It's a high volume area and there's multiple touches and wicks in from both sides. And it had held price early in the pre-market session with the 8:30 unemployment news that came out. The next level above was an important area as well. It has multiple swing highs and swing lows within the level. Also, if we do a Fibonacci line, I'll redraw it so all of you can see. If I draw from the bottom to the top, or the top to the bottom rather, we can see this is the top of this move to the bottom of this move. So I just drew it off this high and this low. We can see that this level right here is the 38% retracement, which oftentimes will act as an area where you can get a reaction from. So if price comes up, I'm looking for price to react back down. Also, the 50% could be a good reaction area, as well as the 61.8%. Okay, so the next level up, again, this was a strong news move that happened and wicked away. But again, multiple highs and lows in this area. And this is a very strong support and resistance area where you had multiple touches in and out of again. The NQ also had some very similar levels to this. So what was my thought process for the morning? What was the plan that I had set out? So if you remember in my Discord message that I sent out pre-market, one of the main ideas that I was looking for was potentially a continuation of this large down move. So how could we get a continuation of that move? If it's going to be a very strong continuation, we could see price retest the first level and then continue short. We could have just seen it go short as well, as it already tested pre-market before the news happened. So without even retesting that level, we could have just gone short. We could also see a pullback into the 38% retracement. Again, 38% from the Fibonacci at a strong level of resistance, and price move back down again. And then at each level, I would be willing to take shorts. So I'd be willing to take a short here, 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 and even the ones above. The reason for this is because we had a huge short move yesterday, and as price goes higher and higher, the more willing the sellers will be to step into the market because they're getting a better price to step back in. I'm going to be doing a video in the next couple of days about market psychology that's going to be going more in depth on this idea. So, like I said, I'm going to be willing to take all of the shorts, and this is because of yesterday's massive move that moved short. There's a high likelihood on the ES that even if price does decide that it wants to move to a higher price, if you have strong support and resistance levels, there's still an opportunity to hit your 1R scale out, move your stop to break even, and then you make a little bit on each trade and you can protect yourself. That even if you're on the wrong side of the intraday move, you can still get out and survive with half R loss or minimal losses or some break even trades until that one idea really hits. Okay, so let me go on to the lower time frame. I'm going to just go onto a 1 minute time frame and take us off replay mode so we can see how I executed all of the trades. Let's find the open. 9:30 open. So this was our pre-market level of resistance. This was the news move down and then back up that touched into this level. I actually took a stab short at this level. So I set up the trade with my entry here, my stop just above here. And what happened on this trade was I ended up hitting my 1R scale out right here. Price moved down, hit my 1R where I scale out 25% of my trade. So in essence, that removes 50% of the risk that I'm taking on the trade off of the table, because I take 25% as profit, and that reduces what I can lose by 25%. So I'm only risking half R in this trade. But because it's such an early level and it's a little bit more risky of an idea, I decided to move my stop down to break even. So what happened on this trade was I did get stopped out. So this was in profit by a quarter R because I scaled out 25% at 1R. So that's okay. I had to take the stab at it because I wanted to see if price would give me the continuation all the way down. Okay, now for the next level, I actually didn't get filled on this. If you looked at the Discord, you could see that I had my price a little bit higher. So I believe my price for entry was at 52.32 and a quarter with my stop above. So the reason that I did this with a tighter stop is I wanted to be able to take a more defensive position on this trade because I wanted to be able to hit 1R once I came back into this level. I knew that this level that was broken, the previous resistance level, could turn into support. So I wanted to see price come into my order, push down and hit my scale out, and then potentially price would rip back and go through and continue like it eventually did. But because I set this trade up a little bit more defensively because the zone was a bit larger, I didn't get filled. And that's sometimes what happens, and we move on. This trade could have continued down and I would have just missed it. You could have potentially taken it on the retest of the high as well as it came back into the level, but that's a little bit more risky. I always like to take the first test. So I didn't get filled on this setup, and that's okay. I could have missed the setup, but I had reasoning behind why I wanted to play this a little bit more on the defensive side, and I stuck to my trading plan. So that's all that matters. Here, you potentially could have had an intraday breakout setup, an intraday balance breakout. Let me show you here. If you're more willing to take long trades, you could see that a range was forming here on the lower time frame. So we had this range balancing, and it already had broken this level, which showing us that we are a little bit bullish intraday inside of the trading session. And you get a breakout right above the balance. Even though you're still inside of this level, you had been balancing for a while, you had already tested the level 3 separate times, and then you do break it. So one way that you could set this trade up, if you were willing to take a long, was to take a breakout here, put your stop below this area here, and you target up into the next level. This wasn't a huge amount of R. If you wanted to be more risky, you could have had a tighter stop, but I don't really like doing that. I'd rather put it at the invalidation point, which would either be here or even a little bit deeper. So the R for me on this trade just wasn't there. There was a more valid long setup, which we'll get into later. So this is the next level above, and I decided that I wanted to short at this level as well. We had this big move, push price all the way up. So let's measure it, see. So we had 33-point move without a substantial downside move. So for me, this is showing some exhaustion, where if we're pushing into a good resistance level where price hasn't had a pullback for quite a while, you could see a good reaction come out of the level because price hasn't had any pullback. So the sellers will step in before the buyers step in again, or the sellers could just take control of the whole move. So I took this trade like this. Again, I was a little bit inside of this level. I'll show you why based on the tick in a moment. And this trade could have netted you a total of 2.6R. So my final target was this level here, and there's a reason behind it. This level here was the first hour high, and it was also an area where we saw some strong buyers and conviction step into the market. This was a strong move away. If you look at the size of these candles, you can see that very strong buyers were pushing price up, originating from this same price, which was the top of the first hour. Also, it's a breakout of a range area. Even though it's on a lower time frame, it could still serve as a good support area where price could bounce from. So this was actually a good area for a long potentially, based on your idea of the overall picture of the market. Because if we zoom out, let me circle this area here and zoom out back onto the 1 hour time frame. and scroll over. So that's this circle here, which if you look at the Fibonacci, it's about 50% retracement of the down move. So could we have seen price just turn around and keep going short from here? We could have, but it didn't happen on this day. There were still valid setups for both the long and the short. It's just based on what your overall idea is of the market. Based on the momentum from yesterday or the day before, I decided to stick to the shorts. Okay, everyone. So if we're looking at this chart, I know it might be a little bit confusing. There's a lot of information, but this top chart is a 2-minute chart of the ES. And right here, this is 11 o'clock. And if I go back and show you, this is as price is reaching this level here. So let me go back to the tick and let me find 11 o'clock on here. So if we look at 11 o'clock, we can see that price had been sustaining above the tick for each of these are 2-minute candles. So for 30 minutes, we had been sustaining above the 0 line on the tick, which is showing upside momentum. So this happened before we're holding above the tick before even the breakout occurred of the intraday balance breakout, but it was showing very strong momentum here. And also on the ADD, we're breaking above the 0 line and starting to push and break new highs. Because of this, I was more defensive on the order and had a better entry deeper into the level. And this ended up giving me better R out of the trade. And then I did have another setup where I decided to go short up into the next level. This trade didn't play out as well. So I had my entry here with my stop above, and I was targeting back down into this area, which was the origination of this bigger move up. So it looks something like this. I actually did get stopped out on this trade. I thought that this level would be a stronger level and a good area for sellers to step into the market, because if we look on the 1 hour, what do we see? We see that it's at the 61.8% retracement. It's a strong area of support and resistance. And personally, I didn't think it was a very high probability move for the whole entire day to be retraced after we had that big news move. I thought it was a better chance that we could get a strong push down towards nearing the end of the day. So I did end up losing on that short trade, and that's okay. It's all in the plan. But I did have another setup that I could take, and this is a real-time setup. So it's not something that you can plan out or have ready or have limit orders beforehand. It's something that you have to be active in the markets to be able to see. So my idea was I wanted price, or not I wanted, but I thought that price could go short from these higher areas, because the higher you get, the more likely that sellers are going to be stepping in. And we had exhausted because we had moved so far in the day. So if we look, the day had already moved 77 points. I know the day before moved, I believe it was 114 points down, somewhere around there. Yeah, 116 points down. But that was because we had some big news come out about Israel and Iran. Today, we didn't have that super big news. We had some unemployment news that came out early in the morning, but there wasn't that driving factor. And if you look at the ADD and the tick, they weren't showing very strong directional bias one way or the other for the entire day. It did it in periods. So if we see here on the tick between 10:30 and 11, holding above, and then this was much stronger here between 11:20 and 1 o'clock. But we got a little bit more mixed for the day. It wasn't strong initiative buyers pushing price through all of the levels. It wasn't like the day before with all the news that came out that made the tick and ADD hit super extremes. We were staying within around 0 to 600 for most of the day. Because of this, I was still looking for more shorts, and I had to wait for a real-time setup to find it. So I was looking for shorts from the higher levels as well, where I was willing to take some trades and I had some limit orders set up. But the real-time setup presented itself. So again, we had an intraday balance create over here. This was, let's see, an hour and 2 minutes of balancing. Just sideways action, established the high and the low of the range. And now I was looking for which way is it going to break out of this range. Are we going to break out above the range and move into the next level? Or are we going to break out below and start moving down into the deeper levels of support? What happened was we got a large breakout bar above the range, but then momentum halted and stopped. If we break out of a range like this, the buyers should be strong. like in this previous range below. What happened when we broke out? It halted a little, but it didn't get taken out completely and then continued up long. What happened on this one? We had this wide range bar push up, a doji candle, and then the next bar took out the entire wide range bar up instantly. And let me show you what the tick did at the exact same time. So this is the tick here. Let me move the chart over. This is the candle in question on the 2-minute. And this is happening at 1 o'clock exactly. And if we look at the tick had been maintaining positive for over an hour here. And it went from an extreme at 700 all the way under 0 at the exact same time. So at this point, I got in short, and the setup is a fake out. So the way that you arrange this setup is you get in right here, and you put your stop right above the high. If the fake out is a true fake out, it shouldn't break past its pivot. This new pivot area should be holding, and we shouldn't go past. Otherwise, it's not a true fake out. So that's my invalidation area. And if you see, this trade ended up going, I believe, 5R, depending on how you set it up. If you had a little bit more in your stop loss, just a couple ticks above, it was a little bit less, 4.5R. I did scale out of the trade around here, and then held the rest. And it came back to the very important area I was talking about earlier. This was my target on my previous short as well. But then it gave me another opportunity to short from a similar area, and I used the exact same target. Back down, not quite to the first hour high, not quite the origination point, but back into the stronger level of what was resistance and is now support. So that was all my setups and trades that I took on the ES on Friday. I didn't take any of these later moves here. That was it. I was done for the day. And then I did take one trade on the NQ. Let me go on to the hour on the NQ. So this actually does look quite similar on the NQ. Here's the Fibonacci from the top of the move to the bottom of the move. And I was really interested in one main setup today on the NQ because I was more focused on the ES today. I had a lot of locations that I'd like to take trades from, so I preferred that chart. But I was looking up here at this level. This level had been acting as a strong support and resistance area for a really long time. And even if you go onto the daily chart, you can see this level here. Let me highlight it. You can see how many daily wicks came into this area and had turned around. So I was looking at this area to hold. So what I did was, let me go on to 1 minute. Was I had a short order at the level with my stop at the other side of the level, and I ended up hitting my 1R scale out right here, scaled out of the trade, moved my stop to break even, and I wanted to see if it could run down again into that same sort of area where the ES took off from. And it eventually did get there, but it stopped me out beforehand. So I moved my stop to break even. It stopped me out, did the same breakout, fake out, although it looks a little bit different on here. It looks quite a bit cleaner on the ES, which is why I took it on the ES. But it did end up hitting my eventual target, but I would have been stopped out. So this, again, was a small winning trade because I just hit my first scale out and didn't hit my second scale out. My second scale out was a little bit lower. It was right here, and it didn't hit. It came down pretty close, didn't hit it, but that's it for the day. So I did pretty well on Friday. Good trade ideas, good planning. I did well on my real-time setups and watching the market, and that's it. So thank you all for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And remember, I'm doing a giveaway once I hit 1,000 subscribers for a $10,000 prop account. So I'll see you next time.